Hello, everybody. Welcome into our Gamer Tuesday show here on the Computer America program. Grayson Hamilton is back from the Computer Electronics Show.
1 minute until showtime.
And boy, does he have stuff to tell us. And also, we'll be talking about the hottest games for 2015. It's all about computer games on tonight's show. Ben is here with us. He's back. And we're getting ready to start. So sit back, relax, enjoy the show as we do our Gamer Tuesday here on Computer America.
Your show will go live in 5 seconds. 4, 3, 2, 1.
Broadcasting live, it's America's longest-running national radio talk show on computers, Computer America, hosted by national columnist Craig Crossman. Look for Craig's weekly column in your favorite newspaper. This show is being beamed nationwide at ComputerAmerica.com. Keep it here for technology news, computer products, guest interviews, and your phone calls. You're listening to Computer America.
Hello, and welcome into the Computer America Show. It's the nation's longest-running, nationally syndicated radio talk show on computers. Computer America is heard around the world and coast to coast. And I'm your host, Craig Crossman.
And I'm your co-host, Ben.
And welcome back, Ben. We missed you yesterday.
Thank you. Yeah, I hear you had a fill-in for the night.
Yes, your brother, Aaron, our executive producer, he filled in for you, did a really good job, by the way. It was a fun show. A very informative show. We had Bitdefender on the program talking about their new box. This is literally a box that you hook up, and it does malware protection for anything that hooks to the internet. Your PC, a Mac, your Xbox One, you name it. Your anything that hooks to the internet, including your phone, it protects you. It's something brand new, and Bitdefender is introducing it in March. And we had one of the head lead guys from Bitdefender on the program. It was a really interesting show, and we had callers. It was a good program. And then of course we had news, and it was what can I say? Aaron did a very good job. So, but we missed you, and so we're glad that you're back.
Yeah, no, Aaron's not replacing me anytime soon. So.
No, he's not gonna. No, you're one of a kind. They're hard to replace. So.
Let's just ignore all the other co-hosts we've had in the past, and just thank you for the flattery.
Yes, it's true. I mean, you do a really good job. I'm very pleased that you're with us here, and I'm glad that you're back. I know you had a long drive yesterday, so but you look rested. So I think we're just going to get to it, and because we got lots to talk about tonight. Now, if you have a comment or a question, give us a call. You can. It's 347-884-8881. That's 347-884-8881. We'll get you on and get you through. Email is live, L-I-V-E, at computeramerica.com. You can also join us in a live interactive chat room from our homepage at computeramerica.com. There's a button there that says chat room and live video. Just click it. You'll get a split screen. On the left side is our chat room. Just put in a nickname. That's the name you'll be known by when you go in there. Click the connect button, and your browser will move you into the chat room. Also, as I said, you now can watch us on that same page. Sharing that same page is a live Computer America video stream. And you can not only listen to us, you can watch us as well. So that's basically how you interact with the show. So I think we should get started. And anything else you want to mention before we get started, Ben?
No, I think we should just go to it.
Okay, well, it's the second Tuesday of the month. That means it's time for our Gamer Tuesday show. And joining us tonight is Grayson Hamilton. Gray is our Computer America gamer correspondent. He recently completed and received his master's degree of journalism from the University of Texas at Austin, and he's actively pursuing a career in video game journalism. He's now an editor-at-large at Pop Zara magazine. He's an experienced game enthusiast and author who gives us his viewpoints when it comes to computer and set-top games. Gray, welcome into Computer America. How are you?
I am still exhausted, but I am doing fantastic. How are you guys doing?
Exhausted from CES. I know we had you out there for a brief time at the beginning of the show. So, but I know you had so many things to see and so many things to do there. And this was your first CES, too, my understanding, correct?
It was. It was 5 days of essentially. I mean, the best way really to describe it is just it was a giant orgy of technology. Just 112,000 booths, which mean each one representing a different company. 9 different show floors. You know, it was mind-boggling to see because I couldn't understand how you couldn't cover a convention in 5 days. Now I know precisely why you can't cover this convention in 5 days. It's impossible. You cannot do it on your own. My fit tracker I was wearing during the conference totaled at the end of the 5th day. I stopped it at the airport. 36 miles walked.
Whoa!
Space of 5 days.
Not bad. Wow.
So no one can say I wasn't active. I am following my New Year's resolution quite well, thank you very much.
Were you wearing walking shoes, hopefully? I mean, you know.
Funny story, actually, I bought brand new shoes on the way to the airport, so I broke them in using CES, which worked out really well because they're very comfy now. But when I started wearing them, they were not. My ankles paid for that by the end of day 2.
Well, now let me ask you this: would you say which is bigger, CES or the E3 convention?
Ooh, that's I mean, it's a bit of a toss-up because CES is definitely business. Like that, you know, CES is very organized, and it's not just gaming. CES is all kinds of technology. It's if you have a gadget, if you have something to bring to the table, you go to CES. You know, E3 is more just a fanboys, you know, parade for games where there's a ton of people going, but it's more 80% the audience, 20% you know actual people with stuff to show, and CES is the opposite where it's 80% of people with something to show and 20% passerbys. You know, I might have been a member of the press, but I was dwarfed by the amount of the engineers, industry experts, manufacturers, investors. There were very, very big, powerful companies that were there looking to buy other places, to buy new technology. It's their kind of, it's like their draft day. Would be a good metaphor for it. Is these guys go looking for what the next thing is going to be this year, and so they go looking for the best, looking for the new innovative things that are coming out. In the next months and years, and you know, but for me, it's just fun. You get to see it all happen. You know, I got to point out the trends. I get to kind of have a pulse on what's coming out, where we are technologically speaking. You know, that was kind of the most fun for me to take away, was not just to see where gaming is going, but technology in general. You know, we get to see the new thing, you know, the new concepts of driverless cars, where we get to see how that's evolving. You know, VR is becoming a major player, and you know, you get to see how smart glass is becoming less about the smartphones and more about actual glass technology. How you know, your cars will have heads-up displays built into the windshield, or how you could display things on windowsills now or on the walls instead of actual TV, you know, things. It really is some cool next level sci-fi stuff, and that was a lot of fun to see.
Now, with those projectors that can project stuff on the car's window sills, can you, while you're driving, could you have a display of, let's say, World of Warcraft, you know, and play the game while you're driving?
I'm sure it's theoretically possible, but I really would advise against it. You know, that just might be a little too distracting. That's like texting gone to the nth degree.
There's a reason they put the TV monitors in the back of the driver's side of the driver's seat and not in front of in the dashboard.
Yeah. So, although I think it's illegal in certain states to have the center console in the front to display anything that's distracting, like a movie or something. So if you're the front seat passenger, if you're running shotgun, you're out of luck, I guess, for most vehicles. But Ben's right. Most of the screens are either the back of the vehicle, you know, or into the back.
Yeah, I think the specific is it can't be within the eyesight of the driver, because then it is a potentially lethal distraction.
Yeah, exactly.
But I mean, I guess in the end, you don't want, you know, this kind of technology is not for displaying traditional means of, not for, playing your solitaire, not for listening to, whatever music, not that kind of thing. It's about new technology, new devices coming in and taking over. It's not, oh, yeah, sure, you could put your computer game up on your windshield, but rather, what relevant, useful information would you like on your windshield? Which is, of course, your speed, your direction, that kind of thing.
Mhm.
Definitely, yeah. And that was, and that's kind of where the fun part of CES was, is, in terms of games, you do see, we get to see a little bit, and I'll get a little into more detail with this, because you have Sony was out there showing a little bit. We had Razer, which was showing off some of their games on their new VR headset. So there were some gaming things to be out there, but it's much more about just, I would say it's far heavier computer technology in general. You could easily sub me with Charles Tindall, and he would have just as much, if not more, to say about CES, and he was only there for a day. But
Yeah, he cut in and cut out. He had other stuff he had to do, but we were really pleased that he spent the day out there at the Showstoppers event, which is really the media event. That's really there for at CES, so these vendors that you're talking about, these companies, can actually get direct contact with the media in one location. So
yes, yeah, absolutely. And that was one of those things, was these companies are also looking for is they want to get the word out. And that's what we were here for. It could be something as small as a blogger to all the way up to CNET, Gizmodo, Engadget. All the big players were there, but in that kind of short time frame, it does, it's press is press. So and we got and over at PopZara, we got tons of business cards, a lot of interviews that are lined up for the next month to 2 months. So for everyone out there, listen up. We've got a lot of great content that's coming out of PopZara. Even as we speak, Nathan is putting we finished up our articles, so that should be coming out. Keep an eye out for my CES roundup article, where I talk about basically the big 5 trends that I saw at CES. That article should be actually published by the end of this show. So if you guys want, head on over to PopZara. You'll be able to see it, and it's loaded with pictures. I go into detail about some of the cooler things I saw. One of which being, and this was real, I saw it, and Nike is making them, the Back to the Future Marty McFly shoes.
Oh, they are going to make those.
They are going to make them, and the guy wearing them, not only did they have LEDs built in to the soles that they lit up, but it does have an auto-adjust strap. So as soon as you start walking, the strap secures the shoe to your foot.
Now, does it have, like the one in the Back to the Future, does it have that little Nike logo that kind of glows blue when it goes?
Yep, it does.
Oh wow, I might be tempted to get a pair of those.
They look super snazzy. So I snagged a picture of them, and I was very, very jealous. So hats off to Nike for pulling the trigger on that.
Now, what are they going to sell for? Did they say?
The guy couldn't give a price point, and it remarkably, or unsurprisingly, a lot of these companies can't throw out price range just yet because they haven't gotten a window down. So they might give you a rough estimate, that might give you a price window, but they'll never give you a final, actual thing. Now, for these, I would say for the Marty McFly, it all depends on how exclusive they want to go. If they do a limited release, then they're definitely going to be in the 200 range. But if they're looking to mass produce them, I would say you could get them between the $80 to $120 range. At least that's what I would say.
Well, they did a limited release a few years ago. They made them on
eBay.
But remember, those were mock-ups. Like, they looked a lot like them, but these are legitimate, the auto straps. Like, these are supposed to be functionally, as you start walking, they secure themselves to your foot, kind. Like, these are supposed to be actually automatically self-tying shoes.
Wow.
So that will definitely hike up the price a little bit, but it's all about the hype. If Nike doesn't, and I could definitely see them making this one of those limited edition sort of things where they say, we're only making 10,000 pairs, which means that each one's going to be bare minimum $300, but then a bunch of people are going to get it, turn around, and eBay it for $500, $600.
I hate when people do that. You know, there's only a few, and somebody goes scarfs them all.
Supply and demand.
Yeah, and then they sell them for a fortune. You know.
Capitalism.
Yeah.
It's ingenuity at its finest, especially when it comes to digital capitalism. You know, that's if people find ways to make easy money, and if it works, you can't really fault them for it.
No.
I do know one of the funniest examples I've ever heard is, there's only X amount of Porsches that are made every year. Well, there's apparently a line that you have to get in, like a digital line you sign up for, so it's like a 5-year waiting list. And this guy gets his name on the list, and when he gets up to the year that he's ready to get a Porsche, he sells his place in line to someone who's willing to buy it.
Yeah, some car manufacturers won't allow you to do that. Because I asked that of Mike Cermak, who has a bit. He's in line for one of the cars. Yeah, and I asked him specifically that question. I said, "Can you just?" He said they would not allow him to sell his place in line. Remember that, Ben? He said specifically. So evidently, you can't do that with a Tesla.
Oh yes. Now I talked to someone who wanted to do that for the Teslas because they were at the show here at CES, among with like the Mercedes-Benz and the Fords and all that stuff. But I know there are companies that frown upon it but still allow it, and then there's ways of getting around it where you keep your place in line, but you're also kind of like the middleman where you still end up buying the car, but you're buying it for them. They're still paying for it, sort of thing. So you're kind of like a carrier fee, so to speak.
Yes,
so there are ways of doing it.
Yeah, there are always ways around it, I guess. Yeah, exactly. Well, listen, I'm excited to talk about the things that you saw out at CES because we had you for just such a short period of time, and so. Why don't we start off? You touched on some of the things that you saw out there, the wearable tech and the drones and the smart houses. But let's get to the gaming thing. And I understand that you got to get your eyeballs or hands on an Oculus Rift Crescent Bay. What's the story with that?
The story is without a doubt the most amazing 6.5 minutes of footage I've ever seen in my life. And I say that because it really was an eye-opening experience. And it was so hard to do a hands-on article writing about the Oculus because as much as I could describe it to you, this is something that truly you have to experience it yourself to believe. And that's what got me into the line. And this was no line, mind you. The very first day, the lines were already approaching 55 minutes. By the time I got there the second day, it was already over 90 minutes long. Wow. Just for a 6.5 minute demo. So you knew it was like this became the thing to see at E3, and rightfully so. But they you wait in line, they get your info, hand them a business card, and they take you in. And I found this interesting because I didn't know why they were doing it at first. Was every booth was walled off and private. So when you go in, they'd close the door, and you were completely enclosed to minimize the noise, and so that no one could see you. And I thought that was interesting just because I didn't know. I thought that was a privacy thing, and then until thinking back on it, I started to understand why. The device itself is fully immersive. So you put the visor on. It comes in with built-in over-the-ear headphones, so they completely cover your ears. And for about a minute, for the first, I would say 40 seconds, you're listening to ambient noises before the demo starts, but it's all in complete blackness, and you're sitting in a chair, so you start to. It's weird because it's kind of like the calm before the storm, where you're sitting there, but you're just in an emptiness at that point. And I thought that was really cool. Was just kind of set the tone.
Sort of a sensory deprivation. It sounds like.
In a manner of speaking, yeah. It was. They had to get you out of where they were. And that was, I think, the reason why they did the whole walled off thing. They wanted to get you in a quiet place so that you could easily transport yourself out of CES.
And also, no one was looking when they took your wallet or something.
Well, yeah, that too. Because you have to give away your phone because they don't want you taking pictures or anything.
Right.
But yeah, so now the entire thing is about a little under 7 minutes, and it's 10 little VidNets. So I would say each one. Some of them last longer than others, but they're roughly about 30 seconds or so, and it's rather quick. So as soon as you kind of start to get into one, you get whizzed off to another section, and that was kind of what it was a little jarring at first because you're trying to get yourself into this mode, and as soon as you start there, all of a sudden you have to get used to a whole other setting. But it was the point of which was all of these were coming from different studios that were showing off what their idea is for the Oculus Rift and what they can do with it, and that's where you really start to get the sense of how really cool and immersive this whole thing was. First off, this is their third generation Oculus Rift, so this is called the DK3 model. So DK standing for Development Kit 3, and the code name for it was Crescent Bay. That's just an easier way for us to understand which model you're talking about with the Oculus Rift, because it's been around for a while, and dev kits have gone out. There have been companies who have had an Oculus Rift for over 2 years now, but obviously nothing's come out because it's not a commercial product yet, and they still need time to fix it. So this is the latest version of the Oculus Rift. Right off the bat, I could tell that it was lighter. It looks like a hefty piece of equipment, almost dauntingly so. But it's not until that you put it on that you all of a sudden realize, it's not as heavy as you think it's going to be, especially for something that's sitting on your face for presumably 10 to 15 minutes.
It's not like putting on a motorcycle helmet or something.
No. Actually, I would say it's much lighter. You know?
Like, wouldn't most of the bulk come from the fact that the screen has to be, 3 to 4 inches away from your eyes? So, like, you see this big bulky thing, and you're like, oh man, that's going to be really heavy. I'm going to be tilting forward the whole time. But really, it's just pretty much blank space, just so you get that distance.
Yeah, it is. It really is. It's not much. It's not so much this hunk of metal bringing your face down. It's more about just creating a black box in front of your eyes so that no ambient light or noises are getting into and disrupting the whole experience. And it's much like I said, it felt lighter. It wasn't a burden. Moving my head around was very easy. It did not impede, and it didn't get tiresome. That was the other thing. Now, I was only a 7-minute demo, so prolonged exposure for, let's say, an hour or 2 hours of play, that might become taxing on someone's shoulders and neck over that long time.
Now let me ask you this: when you were looking at the demo, though, was the demo, or could you literally look around and take it, like you're in, were you just watching a video of something, or were you actually able to use the locations ability of the Oculus Rift?
So it's a guided tour. Okay. So the movement, like where your character is moving, that's already pre-programmed. You can't control that. You control wherever you get to look. So I had complete freedom of looking in a 360-degree pattern. I could look anywhere I wanted to, up, down, behind me, over to the side. You could tilt your head. Complete freedom. And at no point, and I tried it during every VigNet, at no point did I ever experience any kind of pixelation, slowdown, or the computer needing to catch up. This is what really blew my mind. It really was a 360-degree world that was happening around me. So no matter if I suddenly just jolted my head and looked behind me, it never slowed down. It was already, whether or not I was looking, stuff's happening behind me. It's just your choice if you want to look back there or not.
So no vertigo, no feeling of vertigo.
Oh yeah. Just you wait, because that was one of the cooler emotions. Because the first real feeling I got was one of the first VigNets is you're standing in a jungle and a T-Rex starts walking towards you, and you can feel the vibrations as it steps towards you. And I was really impressed with the level of detail, because it gets so close that you can see the ripples in its skin. It looks reptilian. It looks cracked, dusty. His eyes are darting around much like a lizard. I was very impressed with the graphics. They are not next gen. I wouldn't say they're so much to say that could you compare this to an Xbox One or PS4 graphics. I wouldn't say that far. But they are definitely, I would say, at least present gen quality. They're better than PS3. It's better than console graphics, but it's not quite next gen. So I would put it somewhere in that middle. I would put it somewhere in that gray area. They're still great graphics. I would never bat an eye at saying the graphics aren't worth it. By no means. They're still great. Right. And when the T-Rex, when he gets up close to you, he actually almost starts to walk over you. And this is the first time that I instinctively reached out with my hand to try and touch it. And it was that real feeling of my brain had been tricked into actually believing the space that I was in. And that's where my first takeaway was, wow, they got it so good to the point that I'm here trying to feel out this creature that I should know it does not exist. I was really, really impressed with that.
And I know you've never met a T-Rex, but I feel like you should know that it will bite you. Why are you touching that?
Because at that point, I said, you know what? If it's going to eat me, I might as well at least make this the best last 5 seconds of my life.
Okay.
And after it walks over you, you're immediately whooshed out to an urban setting, and you're standing out. It's nighttime. You're kind of in a Gotham City. You're standing on top of a skyscraper. You're looking out over this dark, dank city, and the moment you look down is when you realize that you're standing on the edge of, I would easily say, a 40 to 50 story skyscraper.
Whoa, talk about vertigo.
And I'm afraid of heights. So here was the first real fear reaction I had, was looking down. I almost had to pull the thing off because it was a complete knee-jerk reaction that I pushed. My feet were firmly planted on the ground. I pushed myself so hard that the chair I was in actually moved back because I was trying to step away from the edge of the edge of the building. And of course, you don't move. Yeah. So you have to. I actually had to kind of like catch myself and just like, okay, you have to. And I forced myself to look up because I knew it was like, I can't look down. That's going to be too freaky. So I had to like look up, look around. But it was a very Gotham-esque city, and this really brought out the light ambience to it. The other ones were vibrant. This one was it was the most one that was showing off the texture shading of what they can really accomplish, because they were just, I couldn't tell you how many shades between gray and midnight black that I was seeing, but it was beautifully well rendered. And you could see the moon, the light of the moon was trying to break through the clouds, but it was so thick that it couldn't get there. But the ambiance of it was just gorgeous up in the air. It was fantastically rendered, very, very well done.
Do you see that psychologists might actually use this to conquer a patient's fear of heights? You know, put this thing on and kind of practice.
I started thinking of just dozens of things that the Oculus is capable of. This won't be. It's not to say that the Oculus is a game changer. It's because I feel like it is, but this will be a much bigger step forward in terms of what virtual reality is capable of helping us as a technology and as a science. I mean, it's kind of like how people all of a sudden found how well the Kinect helps other industries, especially the computer industry, and people are learning how to use the Kinect in cool ways. The Oculus is going to do the exact same thing for VR. Companies and especially universities are going to start wanting to use the Oculus Rift for medical procedures, for practice rounds, for doing all kinds of things that you would need all these years of training before they'd let you touch a live specimen.
Yeah,
it would be the exact same, except you could do all of that using the Oculus Rift.
Or flight simulators, or I mean, I guess it's endless. I want you to continue on, but in your opinion, now that you've actually experienced this, do you think Facebook didn't overpay the what was it, $1 billion?
Is the Oculus Rift a gimmick? Because like the biggest complaint here is people call it gimmicky. It's just a gimmick, and people aren't going to go for it.
And I felt the very same way. I really did, and I walked out of there as a believer. I think Facebook, of course, I'm sure they have an agenda, but I will say it's nice to see that their purse strings were not tight on the Oculus Rift. You could definitely tell that their new, I'm going to assume, bottomless amount of money has led to a huge step forward in graphics and viability and all the different ways it need to be improved. So they're doing very, very well with the resources they're given, and where they can go from there is almost limitless. So I was definitely happy about that. And when it comes to the argument of the gimmicks, I mean, I could tell you all day it's not a gimmick, but the only way you'll be able to convince is if you get to experience this demo for yourself, because nothing about it felt like a gimmick, especially if you were to elicit the emotions and the reactions that I had were just way too real to be ignored, and that's on someone as a skeptic and as a critic like I am. Imagine someone, who's just a casual, consumer puts this on. and I don't mean just about games, I'm talking just almost anything in general, is this thing, it truly was immersive on almost on a sensory level. It tricked, I heard what I was hearing, I believed in everything I was seeing. My mind was convinced that I was on a skyscraper, that this T-Rex was in front of me, that I was floating through space. All of these things were just so beautifully done on a sensory level that you just can't say it's a gimmick. It really isn't. But the key in keeping that argument alive and proving it wrong definitively is how they utilize this kind of immersion in the future to come. So when we see this thing go commercial, what are we going to have to show us that this is not just a gimmick virtual reality, that we can really do something impactful with virtual reality? And that's going to be the real nail in the coffin when it comes to this debate.
Well, we got so much to cover, but again, I thought that your description of the Oculus Rift really is excellent. And you think maybe we'll see movies eventually? We'll go to the theater. We put 3D glasses. Maybe we'll put on Oculus Rifts to watch movies in the future.
God help you if that's true, man.
Exactly. All right, you're listening to the Computer America Show on the Blog Talk Radio Network, on the Boost Radio Network, and the IRN Radio Network. Ben and I are talking to Grayson Hamilton. We're doing more on CES, what he saw out there. We'll be right back with them after this. Stay with us.
Hey everyone, have you heard about the No hair removal device that's sweeping the globe? If you want to go weeks without shaving and get smooth, professional quality results, here's our favorite host, Cheryl, for No hair removal.
Thanks. Hey gals, I love talking about my No. It's this cute little hair removal system that you can take with you and use almost anywhere at home or on the road. No more expensive in-office treatments, painful waxing, and no more wasting your valuable time. Got unwanted facial hair? No has patented Thermocon technology that works on all hair and skin colors, so it's perfect for using on all body parts. And now you can take advantage of this incredible risk-free trial. Get the No, the facial kit, a travel case, and a $100 discount shopping card, and you don't risk a penny to try it. Try the incredible No hair completely risk-free. Call 1-800-953-5415. That's 800-953-5415. 800-953-5415.
Hi, this is Craig Crossman, host of the Computer America Show. You have important meetings to schedule. Your company's getting ready for its IPO, and you're in charge of the PTA fundraiser this month. So how do you coordinate everyone to be available at the same time? Are you still using emails, phone calls, even text messages to schedule meetings with a group of people? How's that working out for you? Not so great, huh? It's a fact that every day, millions of people suffer from scheduling headaches. Well, with Doodle, scheduling meetings with a group of people is quick and easy. With Doodle, you can easily propose available times to each member. Each one checks off the times that they're available, and then you simply pick the time that works best for the group, all in an easy-to-read display that integrates with your existing calendar. Nothing could be more simple. Give Doodle a try for free, and like millions of Doodle users, you'll truly see how easy it is to find the perfect date and time for all your meetings. That's www.doodle.com.
Here we go again. It's Marty Winston with a News Tips Bulletin Review for Computer America. This time, the ScanSnap iX100 mobile scanner. Our favorite sheetfed desktop scanner is the Fujitsu ScanSnap model, so when they told us about their iX100, we said send it. It's entirely portable. Charged through a USB port, that's one option for connecting it to Windows or a Mac. The other is Wi-Fi, which gets even more interesting when you team it up with one of its apps for Android or iOS. It's a little smaller than, think rectangular solid, 1.5 inches by 2 inches, kind of squarish, by 11 inches, less than a foot long, and it unfolds the cover to become its paper pad. It comes with the same ScanSnap software suite to allow immediate scans to any of a variety of formats, including options using OCR, optical character recognition, turning those shapes of words into actual words. Bottom line, the very portable ScanSnap iX100 is a small and lightweight road companion that can easily save more than its own weight in the paper you don't have to take along. This is Marty Winston with a News Tips Bulletin Review for Computer America.
Welcome back to the Computer America Show. 33 minutes past the hour, and it's our All Gamer Show, our Gamer Tuesday. Grayson Hamilton is joining us, just back from CES, and last half hour we were pretty much covering the newest iteration of the Oculus Rift, and we actually have a caller about that.
Okay, his name is Lunchbox. Computer America, Craig Crossman. Hi, Lunchbox.
Hi, long time no talk.
Hi.
I do have a question. With the 3D glasses, they had a problem where even though it gave the perception that what you were seeing was distant, it would cause headaches because your eyes are not actually focusing properly, and it would also cause you to go cross-eyed. I was wondering how they found a way to fix that with the Ocular Rift to stop the headaches, and did they also find a way to make it lighter and more comfortable?
Well, I think Gray talked about the lighter and the comfortable part, and with Crescent Bay, and he spoke about that. But I mean, but
my apologies.
No, that's okay. He said that the Crescent Bay, which is the third generation, is lighter, a lot lighter than the previous versions. Remember, they're still all in development, but he brings up a good point, Gray. Although it was a short experience for you, I mean, did you feel any headaches, or was it natural? I mean, how did you feel?
I certainly didn't experience any headaches. The only one that I would ever have is mainly just from the weight on the strain of the back of the neck, and as I said before, it's much lighter. It is a significant reduction in weight. I can't tell you exactly a number of ounces or pounds. They didn't have that on display. They didn't disclose it to us. But I would definitely say it's at least, I would say, 18 ounces to almost 2 pounds lighter than it was before, and it's a very noticeable feel. So it feels very comfortable, and it doesn't impede the looking around experience. When compared to 3D with glasses, I'd have to make a definite point here. I know with the 3D glasses, and especially with 3D TVs, the intended effect does require a refocusing of the eyes, because you'll have to look it up for the biological terms for it, but it's essentially readjusting your eyes to the way they want you to focus, which creates the perception of 3D. Now, wearing the Oculus Rift, it doesn't have that effect on you at all, because they're not trying. You don't have to adjust to the way they're presenting it to you. It does it's very much very, very, very similar to playing a game on a television. I wouldn't say it's like three-dimensional in the sense that the T-Rex in front of me was different from the jungle behind me. That kind of idea is they didn't need to bring the T-Rex out more so that it looked like it. It's kind of the same way that if you were playing any regular video games, you could obviously, and especially if you're playing a first-person game, something that's closer to you is obviously going to be bigger and you could perceive it as closer to you than something farther away. Now with 3D, especially with 3D TVs, they have to give you the glasses as a means so that you can project the image so that it's closer to you and it's coming out of the television, so that it has that 3D effect. But with the Oculus, you're already immersed into this 3D world. So as you look around, it's much like you've just kind of entered into the window of your monitor, and you're just kind of looking around in the world that you've just been immersed in. So it doesn't really feel. I wouldn't say it gives you this. It doesn't give you the same headache as a 3D thing would, in my opinion. But as I said, I hadn't had problems with 3D TVs before. I don't recommend them. I think that's a gimmick. But this, however, is very different. In my opinion, my experience was I was just kind of dropped into a 3D world, and I looked around going, wow, that T-Rex is very close, and I looked around going, well, that alien's coming at me pretty quickly.
But it is 3D, though. It is a 3D effect.
Yes, it is, and yes, it is a 3D effect, much like you go to those rides and on Disney World or Six Flags, they all say it's a 3D experience.
Okay.
But in terms of, I would say with this, it's just different. I wouldn't compare it in the same kind of 3D, because it feels so much more immersive and enveloping, where it's just you're sitting in a chair and you can, and you have this freedom of movement and of especially visual movement, but it doesn't give you the same. I don't think it's going to give you the same kind of headache as it would a 3D TV. I will point out, however, that in reading other people's reviews and talking to some other people, the twinge of motion sickness, if you are prone to motion sickness, still apparently does come up with people who can't do prolonged exposure. So if for people out there who have had problems with motion sickness, whether it's you can't read books in a car or Michael Bay movies, make you do that. I mean, they still are working to solve that issue. So that is something also to keep in mind.
May I ask more or two more questions? Both of them are pretty short. It has to do with the headaches. Being that you have two monitors in close proximity to your eyes, wouldn't that also create an increased risk of headaches from that alone?
Well, first of all, remember, Grayson isn't the doctor, so he can only tell you about what his experience is with the Rift. So we really can't get into the actual details of that. I know Ben's brother, Aaron, can't go to a 3D movie. It gives him a headache. We want to see the
That's because he's weak, so,
the Hobbit. We want to see the last of the Five Armies, and I said, let's go see the 3D version. He went, no. He says, I can't. I get a headache. So we saw it in 2D. But there are, obviously. But then again, when you're living in the 3D world, we live in a 3D world. You don't get headaches from living in the 3D world, and that's I think the idea behind the Oculus Rift. It's really simulating the regular 3D world that you live in anyway. Now, if you get headaches just by living in the 3D world, then you could have a problem. But I'm sure that further research is being done into this, and whatever they can do to fix it, I think that's the best that we can expect. What was your other question, Lunchbox?
Well, I posted 2 links in the chat room about a game that's being privately developed. I don't know if any of you are Star Trek fans.
Yes.
But there's a great, just fully immersive game being developed right now where everything you could think of doing in Star Trek, you can do. And how this relates to the Oculus Rift is how easy are they making it for developers to convert the Oculus Rift over to versioning game developers, so like you're actually on the bridge of the Enterprise. You understand what I'm saying? Is it very easy to convert Oculus Rift over to new games?
It is and it isn't. From what you're saying, in terms of a developer standpoint, it's based because it is a PC machine. Mind you, this is like you won't simply be purchasing just the Oculus Rift because you will also need the hardware and software required to translate it, and that's I think what you're kind of getting at. It does require a rather powerful PC to process all what the kind of information, especially the experience that you're going for, and that is the biggest block for developers right now. Is because since this is a new way of doing video game development on let's say a commercial level, on the level that Sony creates the PS4, that Microsoft creates the Xbox One, they're having to deal with, how do they create the kind of game experience that is necessary or that's best interpreted as an Oculus Rift experience. And that's going to take time. And that's the problem, is because there's going to be more misses than hits in that department, because when you enter into this kind of new field of development, it always takes, you always have to figure out what's wrong before you start figuring out what's right. And it's always, you always hone in on what people want. But that, of course, it takes some swings and some misses before we get there.
Hey, listen.
So I think that what the biggest issue is when this first comes out and we start seeing actual games for the Oculus Rift, they may be games in the sense of you interact with them, you play them, and you achieve a certain result and we move on. But people might say, well, this wasn't a game like so-and-so, like something I play on the Xbox One or the PS4. Well, of course, because when you play the PS4 or the Xbox One, you're playing through a monitor. You're looking at it. It's presented to you in a linear fashion, as opposed to this, which is you submitting yourself to this fully 3D world, which is, in my opinion, a much more complicated thing to develop on a PC. Well, actually, on any level, I think it's more complicated to find that, and then it's going to take time to learn how to master that translation from coding into a narrative, a entertaining experience for the Oculus Rift.
Hey, Lunchbox, we have so much. We have so much to cover. We have so much to cover, but hopefully we answered your questions for you, and thanks so much for calling us, and we'll see you back in the chat room, and live long and prosper. Okay. All right. 347-884-8881 will get you on and get you through. So let's continue on. There was so much and we have so little time. Let's talk about Sony and the Project Morpheus. Any news on that from CES?
Well, I was disappointed because I was really looking forward to it, and I really thought this would be the perfect opportunity for them to show it off. But it was noticeably absent. And Sony, I mind you, Sony always has one of the largest presentations. They always do. We're not talking just a 8-foot by 8-foot booth. We're talking they usually take up a quarter of a show floor to show off everything they had, and they came out with everything this year. It was giant. It took you almost an hour just to see everything, let alone touching everything is a whole different story. But Project Morpheus was absent, and I was pretty disappointed by that. Okay. They didn't even have a presentation demo. Like I would have liked to see a public demo where you could try it yourself. But even having someone try it and you watch it, that would have been nice. But I'm guessing they're waiting for another opportunity to show this off in the months to come. There is still there's still the Game Developers Conference in March, as well as E3 in the summer. They might be waiting for these. Because those are more gaming oriented, so they might be waiting to really show them off at those conferences. I don't know their agenda, but thankfully Sony still had tons of other great things to look at.
Okay, so you mentioned Razer, and they had actually a surprise there at the CES. Tell us about what you saw there.
Well, Razer, and I was looking forward to Razer because, and Ben, you have some Razer gear, I'm assuming, right?
Yeah, I'm a huge fan of their. I had a couple of their headsets and a couple of their mice and keyboards.
Yeah. See, Razer, they kind of like Logitech. They do pretty solid third-party peripherals for the PC. Mm-hmm. I've always been a fan of Razer. I liked them, but I was not expecting their own VR headset, and that was one of their big announcements before the show opened. Was that they had their own, which is called the OS VR, open source VR headset, and the way they presented it was, and they used the term hacker-friendly. And the idea behind this was because the software that is used to pilot the actual VR headset is completely open to the person for tweaking. It's not just a development kit for studios, but from an actual developer level, from a personal level, you will have full ability to tweak the thing as you see fit. It has replaceable parts, so if you don't like the earphones, you can plug in other ones that may feel more comfortable. If you don't like the hard casing, they will have other ones that you can actually purchase and install yourself. And then into the coding, you can actually tweak it yourself. You'll be able to mod the actual games themselves, which is becoming a bigger thing in games recently. If you look up Skyrim mods, there are hundreds of things that you can install. Well, not legally at least. But that you can install into Skyrim or Grand Theft Auto that completely changes some aspects of the game to make it almost into a wholly different game. And that's the concept of modding, and that's what they're being very open to because they want it to be your own device, something that you can play with and get it perfect the way you really want to experience it. And I thought that was really cool. I think it's a very encouraging way to distance yourselves from the locked-in Oculus Rift or the Project Morpheus, as I suspect Sony will be doing, because it's a third party and they like the idea of saying that we're more open to interpretation. So that was definitely interesting, and the machine itself worked very solidly. It also had motion tracking because it came with two controllers that looked exactly like the nunchucks that came with the Wii, that came with the Nintendo Wii. You remember? So you had the remote, you had the Wiimote, and then you had the nunchuck, which was the extension.
Yep.
So,
yep.
Yeah. So imagine just two of those, one in each hand, and the system actually would track where those were in the 3D space around you. So as you were playing, and my demo was just a targeting demo. Each nunchuck represented a gun, and I could move those in order to aim, and then you could actually shoot the targets. So that was something that Oculus didn't have, which was I thought was that's a one-up for them. Was they were willing to show how much further they went, not just to say we give you VR, but we're also giving you motion tracking VR.
So you can actually see your hands.
Yes, you would actually see these. You'd see your hands move like in front of you. So if you watch someone using the VR, they would be looking around, but they'd also have these. You'd see them move their hands with these nunchucks, trying to do something. You just couldn't really see what it was.
Right.
See, but that brings in the dream of the VR gloves. You slip on the gloves and they have like the little sensors on each finger. That's the hope. But I guess for the middleman are the nunchucks.
Yes.
I'm trying to think of the movie where I saw they had this with Michael Douglas. Disclosure. That was called Disclosure, where he was actually using the gloves and he was in an immersive environment. And this was back in the '90s, so they were really ahead of the time. But evidently, it's coming. This is really, really cool. So now, everybody, Razer's got an OS VR. Now Omni goes all out also with a completely immersive VR rig.
Yeah, see, this is the cool part. Was I saw it in this. So I saw the Oculus first. I saw Razer next, and it was kind of one of those like, man, people are just like VR is just a thing, and people are just trying to up the ante one after the other. And then I see Omni, and Omni was just like, all right, this can't be a real thing. This cannot, like, are they really doing this? And yes, they are. For those of you out there, all you need to do, Google search and do Omni, OMNI, and you can put CES 2015 and then click on images so that you can get a full sense of what this thing is. This is not just a VR headset. This is a rig. This is a full body rig that you have to basically strap yourself into. Literally strap yourself into. Is actually I get to say that and use the actual term literally. And in this idea is, so you have a waist strap that secures you to a circular bar that goes around your waist, so you can't even though if you walk forward, you can't walk forward. This thing keeps you there. You're standing on an ovular, slick, touch-sensitive pad, and the reason for that is every time you take a step forward, your shoes will slide back to the center area, and that simulates a step in the game itself. So every time you take a step, your foot will slide back and your character will progress as if you're moving forward. The faster you step, the faster your character moves, so you can actually run in place and your character will run in the actual game. Huh. Now attached to this device was an Oculus Rift. It was not the VR3. I noticed that it was actually it was a DK2 model. So this is a last gen Oculus Rift that they were using as an example. Now the guy holding it was also holding a little miniature rifle peripheral. And I asked about this because I want to know if all of this was part of the same getup. And he said the Oculus and the rifle peripheral are sold separately. The only thing they were really demonstrating, at least their product, was the rig, this giant-looking treadmill type thing. That was what they were showing off. But in order to do that, they paired it with this gun peripheral and the Oculus to show the application of the device itself. So I was very interested because when he talks about price point, he says they were looking to get this thing out around $500. Now, for everyone out there, I want to make the distinction, the rig itself is $500. That gun peripheral will probably be another $100, and the Oculus, of course, will probably be another $300 by itself. So I at first was blown away by the price until I realized, oh, it's just for the treadmill itself. So everything together, this is still going to be a pretty big, bank breaker for the average consumer to get this entire thing. but I was really impressed to see it all play out. You can easily look up a video of people doing this if you want to see like a real hands-on for it, but it really worked. You could see the video of the guy using it, that as he did different versions of stepping, running, and then he showed how easy it was for him to turn in different directions because he was anchored into the circular bar. So all he had to do was he would swivel to the left about 90 degrees, and his character turned 90 degrees, and then he'd start running that way. And then obviously as the targets popped up, the motion tracking would see where the peripheral is, so it's just like aiming a real gun. I mean, so this was from your eyes to the hands, the feet. This was full VR for your entire body. Everything relied on you actually doing the movements in order to make it happen in the game. So if you wanted to do a roadie run, you had to actually physically do the roadie run. If you wanted to aim and shoot, you actually had to aim and shoot. It was a really impressive presentation to put it all together. But of course, in the back of my head, I'm going, God, this thing's going to be expensive. It's going to be very expensive. And they're looking to get this out by the summer of this year. So, you know, their advertising and their marketing is going to be kicking up in the next month or two, and they're going to be they're going to do a national tour. So you might start seeing this pop up in malls around the nation as they try to get the word out. It's a real, you know, I definitely recommend you trying it out if you get the chance. Because it really is something you have to do yourself to kind of get the feel for it.
It's just amazing that this stuff is coming out. It's coming out so fast too, and maybe in time for the next Christmas. What do you think? Yeah, we'll see.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, well, by the way, they say they definitely want this to be out by the Christmas of next year.
But is there going to be any? Are there going to be any? You know, ready for consumer virtual reality headsets that are geared to go with this?
Do you mean like games, or do you mean?
I mean like the actual Oculus Rift console, or you know, what have you.
Well, I guess that's kind of what they might be waiting on. Is, you know, when it comes to this idea of VR, it's all in the, you know, the most important piece is the VR headset itself. So without the headset, it's really hard to, you know, use this machine. It's kind of like a tricycle with only two wheels, so to speak. You know, it can run technically, but it won't do it very well. I would have to say, now, I mean, Oculus is looking to get out this year. When it came to a launch window, they said we're in the discussion of it. It's a matter of months now. So I think they're ready to hit the button. They're ready to launch, which means Project Morpheus shouldn't be too far behind. Samsung VR should already be out. I think should be out actually by the end of March, I think is what they're looking for. And Omni, I'm going to assume is right there. They're probably in, by evidence of the Oculus, they're definitely in discussions and probably talking to them almost on a weekly basis, trying to probably coordinate a launch window so that the Omni treadmill comes out within a month of the Oculus itself coming out. If they are both, if Omni's relying on the VR headsets, then they need to be competitive and they need to launch just at the same time as the VR does.
So in the next 3 minutes here, you have some honorable mentions that you saw out there?
Oh, God. Yeah. We might need to use like a whole nother, I mean, at least part of next segment, the next hour when we get into it. But there were some great, just, you know, there was so much to take in that there's so many different honorable mentions. And most of these weren't really even gaming related, but they were just part of the coolness that is CES itself. Wetricity was really amazing because the idea behind it is that you place these little LED hubs that are about the size of a donut, and they have a bunch of LED lights, and they're wireless chargers. So you put them in your house, and any electrical device within 5 to 6 feet starts charging. So we're talking about the idea of you walking in your house, you put your phone on a table, and it just starts charging all by itself. And we're not just smartphones. They want to be able to go to anything from lamps, ceilings, anything that runs off a battery. They want to be able to charge. Now that to me is astounding.
Yeah.
That is a giant cool thing for me to think about. The houses of tomorrow that would be able to simply charge any device that you had just by walking in the house. I think that was one of the coolest things I saw there. Without a doubt.
Yeah, no more having to hook it up to a recharge.
Absolutely.
Ben would actually say start charge. That's amazing.
It won't happen. something will pop up with fillings or something, but no, my phone will stay dead. It has to for humanity to continue.
And I do want to mention these guys because I saw these. I read about them last year. They were at CES last year, and they've expanded greatly. Wemo is a company that's looking to basically transform your dumb house into a smart house. And the way they do it is by these small little plug-in adapters that you plug into the wall, and then your devices plug into them. And what that does is that gives you control over any electrical device into your smartphone. And by doing this, that means you start to basically turn all your devices into one collective mind that you can control even when you're not in the house. So on your way home, you can tell your phone to turn on the heater, start boiling water, any kind of thing that you need that you are trying to save energy on. This is what Wemo is trying to actually help promote. And one of the funniest things, and they showed a demonstration of it, they had a crock pot that you can text when you want it to start cooking and when to stop cooking. And then when the food is done, the crock pot will then text you back. So that you start actually texting. Robots will be texting me more than actual people are texting me right now.
You can have an actual conversation with your crock pot,
With your crock pot.
Exactly. Hey, okay, we're up at the top of the hour break. We're going to continue on with Grayson Hamilton, and we're going to kind of move into a look ahead, the big games of 2015 here on our Gamer Tuesday show on the Computer America show. You're listening to us on the Boost Radio Network, on the IRN Radio Network, and the Blog Talk Radio Network. We're going to break just for a moment, and then we're coming right back. Big games of 2015 with Grayson Hamilton. Stay with us.
Broadcasting live, it's the only national radio talk show on computers to air every weeknight. Computer America, hosted by national columnist Craig Crossman. The first hour's behind us, but there's still more of tech news, tech talk, and your phone calls. We're being beamed nationwide at ComputerAmerica.com. You got computer problems? Bring them on. You're listening to Computer America. Computers run the world, and we run computers. Call us or send us an email to live@ComputerAmerica.com.
Hello and welcome into Hour 2 of the nation's longest-running, nationally syndicated radio talk show on computers. This is the Computer America Show, and I'm your host, Craig Crossman.
And I'm your co-host, Ben.
And we continue on with our gamer correspondent, Grayson Hamilton, just freshly back from the Consumer Electronics Show. Would you say, Gray, that you'll go again next year? Or was it?
I'm counting down the days till I go next year.
So a big thumbs up. You highly recommend this to anybody who has the wherewithal to go.
Oh, absolutely. And that's the best part about it is, especially as if you're an agent of the press or if you're just a regular guy, just a lover of technology, it's just such a fun thing to go to. It's huge. It was like a Six Flags that just never stopped, going. These floors these show floors are so huge. It took me 3 days to go through Tech. It's spread into two things. You have Tech East, you have Tech West. I started at Tech East, 3 giant floors. It took me 3 days to get through all of that. My last day that I was there, I went over to Tech West, and I found out there's 5 more floors. I barely got through one of the floors, and there were 4 other ones I never even got to go see.
Wow.
So that was. To me, it was like I missed about 40% of the entire show because I did not have the time to see everything.
Is there some sort of organization, like did you miss like the fitness floors, or did you miss is it organized?
Oh, it's insanely organized. That's one of the most impressive things going into this conference is it might seem like it's chaos, especially if it's your first time. There's so many people, but the way the floors are organized, it's actually is very, very thoughtful because they do break it up into those giant sections. So when you go into unmanned devices, then you're in the drone section, and there's hundreds of companies with all these different drones. And then you go into the gaming section. That's where I found Oculus Rift, and you find all these other gaming-specific companies. It wasn't until that you go to, it was like the biggest one, and it took the entire floor, was just computer, and that was where you found Samsung, Sony, because they needed the biggest spaces for it. Then when you go to the other floors, the other ones, that's where you start to find fitness, and that's where I found smart clothing, and then you see wearables, and that's where you find all the smart watches, and then it was, and then there was the most unique, I would say, floor is called Eureka Village, and Eureka Village is essentially the miscellaneous of all these categories because it's half of a giant show floor, and it's all of these different companies that are either startups from universities or they're technologies that are being developed privately. And they're not owned by anybody, and they all have small 8x8 booths, but they're there to show off this cool thing that they invented themselves. And that's where you see some of the coolest stuff I've ever seen. Because that's where it's like real innovation on a person. Like, we're talking people like in their garage level have made these cool things. And some of them are really just, it's one out of this world stuff. One of my favorites was this company called HZO. And they developed this spray-on polymer that you can spray on any mechanical device, and it becomes immune to water. And they demonstrated it by spraying it on a 32-inch flat-screen TV. They even took the back panel off to show the actual circuitry of the TV. Then they put it in water. Worked just fine.
Really?
Yeah, it was really cool. Then they took an iPhone, and they did the same thing with its case on and with its case off, dropped it in the water, and the guy put his hand in, used it just fine. And he had a timer going, and it was, by the time I left, it was already 9 minutes completely submerged, still worked just fine. He made a phone call underwater. Like, I thought, that kind of stuff was really, really cool to me. Where it's like, you guys, I hope an investor sees you, and I see a commercial for you guys in 6 months, because that kind of stuff to me was really, really cool.
Well, I know there's certain water-phobic products out now, that you can spray in your sneakers and clothing and
super hydrophobic.
Super hydrophobic, and it just doesn't stick. It's amazing. You put chocolate sauce, whatever, and it just rolls right off the clothing. And I know products like that are available now, but you're saying this is something different. It doesn't spray on.
What they were marketing is that it's semi-permanent. It's so long-lasting that their idea was to put this television, submerge it into water, and 12 hours later, it would still be working. Whereas these other polymers and these hydrophobic, I think that's the term?
Super hydrophobic, yeah.
Yeah, is that while it's a spray-on, is that this kind of stuff dissipates over a convenient amount of time. Like they may work for an hour, 2 hours, 3 hours, but they do wear off eventually.
Okay.
But they're looking to make something, to make a polymer that's actually as close to permanent as you get, and their idea was to show how long an actual working electrical device can function underwater.
You still spray it on?
It was a spray-on.
Yeah, cool.
But still, to me, it was such a cool idea to be able to see and look at this giant 32-inch device, and it's like, yeah, you can watch the game underwater. I don't know why you would want to, but you could.
Because sometimes diving gets boring and you feel like catching the game and,
well, swimming.
Diving.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
He is right. There has been I've always wanted to watch a Cowboys game underwater.
Yeah.
This does make that possible.
There you go. Well, again, so obviously we got 2 thumbs up from Grayson Hamilton about the CES, which I knew was going to happen anyway, and he is going to go back out there next year. So, thank you so much for the in-depth look at what you saw as far as gaming is concerned. But I want to spend the remainder of this hour to the next part, which is a look ahead, and that's some of the big games for 2015. And can we talk a little bit about that? Greg?
We certainly can.
Yeah.
I'm more than happy to do that because we've got tons and tons of new games coming out this year.
All right.
It's always fun when you start a year fresh, you look ahead and you get to see these fantastic titles that are coming out. And, it just makes you, as a gamer, this is what it comes down to. The tech is great, new consoles are great, but it's always about the games. Mm-hmm. And that's where you really show the bread and butter. So that's what I'm happiest about is what's, I've got a PS4 now. And I've got an Xbox One. But what's the point of having them if I don't have games to play them? Well, here's the best part. Here's what I get to be excited about coming up into 2015.
Now, wait.
Okay.
You said you had a PlayStation 4, but now you also have an Xbox One?
I do. I got myself an Xbox One.
Oh my gosh. Okay.
You can no longer call me a party specific person.
Got it.
I mean,
All right.
I still prefer the Sony over the Xbox, but I have both, so I can remain objective.
So you are bipartisan. I like that. I like that.
Yes, but don't ask me to get any bills for it because that's just not going to happen. What am I, Congress?
So let's start off with the first one, and of course, I don't know why, but I guess he's so popular because he's the only superhero that's still actually, technically, he's just like you and me. He's a human, and of course, I'm talking about Batman. And
Yes. I mean, for those of you out there, Rocksteady, they've been around. I mean, they've been around for a couple years, but their big first, major hit was, of course, Batman: Arkham Asylum, which I think was way back in 2009, if I'm correct. And then they had a follow-up, Arkham City, in 2011, which was equally impressive. Now, there was Arkham Origins, which came out last year. That was not a Rocksteady title. They wanted to make that very clear that they were working on something else. Everyone was sad because they thought something else meant another game, that they didn't want to do another Batman game. Well, no, it turns out they just wanted to make the last Batman game a next-gen title. They've been working on Arkham Knight for a little over 3 years now. And you can easily go online and check out some of their in-game demos, and it's definitely it's, as they said, this is the end of their trilogy. They've been kind of following a similar philosophy as Chris Nolan, where they've wanted to get that they've tread the line between comic book and I would say graphic novel as well as possible. Batman has always been a comic. He's a graphic novel. He's on TV. He's on movies. There's so many definitions of Batman, and there's so many interpretations of him. There's no way to do them all justice. But Rocksteady, of course, wanted to give credit to all of these past incarnations.
I've been watching
in making these games.
I've been watching Gotham on TV, the TV series. It's very entertaining. It's I don't know if you had a chance to catch it.
I've watched a few episodes. It's interesting. I'll give it that.
It's Batman before Batman. He's still a kid.
It's interesting. I'll give you that. It has to be code for, not that good.
I can't say I've kept up with it.
Okay. All right.
But this final Batman game, being a next-gen game, is going to be their final foray with Batman, and it's continuing the story behind Arkham Origins and Arkham City, which has been building towards something much bigger. What that is, we're not quite sure, and I don't want to spoil anything for anybody, so I don't want to get into details regarding the story, but it's all about. It's definitely been all about Gotham. It's been how Batman has been trying, and he's in a sense he's almost fighting a losing battle with Gotham. How it's still falling prey to violence, to corruption, to evil, and of course the supervillains that he is well known for have all made appearances, and I'm sure that some of the other ones are going to make an even bigger appearance in this final one. So it's the cinematic, I would say the cinematic element behind the Arkham series has been the biggest strength to it. It's driving ahead this awesome Batman story, but at the same time, they've wanted to make sure that every kind of facet of Bruce Wayne and Batman is still a part of the game. And one of those things that you don't really see very much anymore is the detective element of Batman. And they've made sure that that's been a big quality in how you play the Arkham series, is that Batman is a detective. He's not just a brute who knows karate. He's very smart. He's intelligent at what he does, and that's what his enemies respect him so much for. Is that you can't outsmart Batman. He's been a challenge. He continually, he thwarts them, and that's what they love and hate about it. And that's the dance they play. But in leading towards this final chapter, it looks like they're going for broke this time around. Is that there's something really dark in store for Bruce Wayne, and it may not be something he can come back from. They've alluded to this idea that it may take all of him to conquer, and so we'll have to see where this goes. We are looking for a summer release. They haven't given us a specific date. We know it's this year, so I'm going to say this will be a great summer title for everyone out there. So I would put this on your list. Please put this on your list.
Okay, so obviously you like it.
I'm very excited for this one.
Okay. All right, the next one that you wanted, we're looking forward to is called Evolve from Turtle Rock.
Yes, Evolve. For those of you guys out there, if you remember Left 4 Dead, Left 4 Dead was a co-op shooter that involved zombies. You know, each person played a character. You guys ran through a quick, intense level, usually lasted somewhere between 10 to 15 minutes, and you just survived against a throng of zombies. Well, Evolve is kind of the same thing, you know, with an extra step on it. Each person, you have 4 characters who work together, except you're all working towards fighting a 5th character, and the 5th character is a giant walking monstrosity. It's a creature out of your nightmares. And the idea is the 5th character is trying to kill the 4 characters before they can mount a proper defense against you. Or the 4 characters can mount a quick offense to try and end the match before it starts. So it's another co-op shooter with the AI element taken out and another human character put in. So it's no longer a 4-person shooter, it's a 5-person shooter, with the idea of the 5th player playing the enemy. And I kind of like that idea. You know, there's been multiplayer games where the mode, they allow you to play the enemy for a little bit, but it's never been kind of like, it's one of those gimmicks they put on the end of it, like another multiplayer mode. This is a game that's built entirely on this. There's no story to Evolve like there was with Left 4 Dead. There's no single player aspect to this. This is about survival in a group setting. And what better way to improve that formula than adding another human element to it? And that's what's really cool. The graphics on it, and especially the trailers, if you take a look, it's gruesome. You know, these giant monsters that the 5th character gets to play, they're forces to be reckoned with. These are not something a single player can take on alone. It takes a group effort of 4 very coordinated, very skilled players to be able to mount, and that's going to turn into some really impressive multiplayer matches. So for you guys out there who, you know, college kids and people who have friends who like to play video games with friends a lot, Evolve, put that very high on your list. And it's coming out soon, coming out next month in February. So this one's coming out quick, and it's both for PS4 and Xbox One, multi-platform title. So please go ahead, definitely pick this one up if you're a group fan.
Okay. Hey, listen, we have a caller in North Carolina. His name is Lucas, and he's got a comment he wants to make to you, Grayson. Computer America, Craig Crossman. Hi, Lucas.
Hi. With the Gotham and everything, and that new game, with that one, I think I might buy it tonight. But my hard drive won't work, but I'm gonna try to download it. Those graphics, like you were talking about, dude, like, they were crazy. I flipped out when it came up. So I was like, oh my gosh, this is awesome. I'm going to so buy it. So I was like, oh my gosh. But with the Gotham and everything, that's in kind of like my opinion too as well.
Okay, good. Gray, you want to make a comment to Lucas?
I say, hey, I think he's great minds think alike. I think I'm glad other people are as excited as I am.
There you go. Well, we appreciate your enthusiasm, Lucas, and I hope to keep listening to the show. And thanks for calling us tonight. All right.
Oh, you're welcome. You're welcome.
All right, you keep listening. Okay. Bye-bye. All right. So there you go. 347-884-8881. I'll get you on and get you through. We're talking to Grayson Hamilton, and we finished with the Evolve. We're talking about some of the big game titles of 2015. You know, it shows you truly that Computer America reaches all venues, adults, kids, all walks of life.
Adults, kids, Craigs, all age ranges.
Exactly, all ages. And it's just a nice affirmation that we get calls like that. We're very glad that he called. So let's move on to Bloodborne. Okay. Now, what's Bloodborne?
Bloodborne is the Japanese developer From Studios. From Studios, in the past recent years, their biggest things have been the Demon Souls and Dark Souls video games, which have been infamously known, and I've talked about them more than at length, about being some of the most difficult games that have come out easily in the past 10, 15 years. They are dark, they are intense, they are unforgiving, and merciless experiences. Having said that, they're also incredibly well designed, very addictive, and very just great games. But they're unforgiving, and so that's one of those things you have to readjust myself to. I remember when games were hard when I was younger. They certainly were more difficult when we were younger, and games have definitely gotten easier in the past 10, 15 years. But From Studios wanted to bring back that element of difficulty, of really working to beat that, to earn that reward of beating that level. Now, Dark Souls was a multi-platform. You saw it both on Xbox and PlayStation. Bloodborne they're going back to PlayStation exclusive. Bloodborne will just be on PS4. It's coming out next month. Now, we know some about it. We know it still has that dark, intense kind of vibe to it, but it looks to be more of a horror game than an action game. There is a lot of violence to it, and there's definitely a combat element to it. But it looks like they're going into a different direction thematically than the Demon Souls games were. So this is going to be interesting to see what they have to show us in terms of horror and fear. But it looks very entertaining. But I don't recommend this for younger ages. This is certainly something that will elicit a nightmare or two.
So Lucas can't watch this one.
Well, I don't know his age, but I don't know, maybe just wait to see what the people say about this one. But for you PS4 fans out there, Bloodborne is one of their prime exclusives that are coming out this year, and I'm super excited for it. I think it's gonna be a solid title. From Studios has done quality work if you've played the Demon or Dark Souls games. So yeah, keep that one on your radar.
Now, is Bloodborne like a zombie game, is what you're saying? It's an infection kind of...
I know there are zombies in it, but it is not a zombie game. I would say it still has a Demon Souls feel to it. Mm-hmm. You will still be fighting things like monsters, dragons, demons, those sorts of things.
The title Bloodborne conveys...
Yeah. The name Bloodborne probably conveys that, it's maybe some kind of zombie, but it's probably some, I mean, just look at the creatures that are in it. You're getting more of a demon feel from it, but it's obviously going to be, something infects wherever you're going, and it's demonic in nature, and you have to, do whatever you do to defeat it.
Okay, that's coming out on the 6th of February as well. A lot of these games are just literally around the block, aren't they, Gray?
Oh yeah. There's some ones that are coming up very, very soon. That's why I need to be very excited for these games.
Now, the next one I know that you're a huge fan of, and that's from the Zelda series, and they've got the Nintendo's coming out with the Legend of Zelda.
Yes. So we've heard about the Legend of Zelda, the Wii U, for a long time. We got the first actual look at it last year at E3. And the big announcement, the big change, the evolution for Legend of Zelda is that it's going open world. So they're turning it from a linear dungeon to dungeon adventure game into an entire open kingdom for you to completely freely explore on your own. As a Zelda, huge Zelda fan, this has been a long time. This has been a long time coming. This game has needed to change, to get out of its roots. The dungeon crawling has been great, and it's worked. Every game before it has still been a success and been very well designed. That's not a dig I want to put towards Nintendo. It has just been, in terms of the way that gaming has evolved, it has been I think it's been a long time requirement of Zelda to evolve with it and to turn into a different kind of Zelda experience. And now that they have the ability to do this, not just graphics but hardware and processing power, is that we can finally experience the Hyrule that we've always wanted to see. And we're talking about the kind of size like Skyrim level, like a giant, just expansive kind of Hyrule that takes dozens, if not hundreds of hours to actually explore.
That's exactly, when you said open world, I mean, I was thinking, so essentially it's Skyrim, but Zelda theme and Zelda everything.
Yeah, definitely.
That sounds amazing.
Absolutely, and that's one of the bigger things. Yeah, that's what they wanted to talk about. And there is a gameplay demo out there where you can see Miyamoto playing Zelda, where you get to see just what they really mean by open world. Is that yes, it is open world. You see a forest miles ahead of you. Yeah, you can go to that forest. You just have to walk there. It takes a while, but you can get there.
You can't fly, or you can't take a
well, there might be alternatives. I know you can call Epona, which is the horse. I'm sure there's going to be other means of like harnessing the wind. There might be some kind of hang glider, so to speak. I'm sure there will be shortcuts to travel the world a little bit better. But but that's of course some of the secrets that they're going to have.
Maybe buy a ticket on Delta or something.
Did you say Delta because of the triangle and the anyways, did they say did they give any hint to what which iteration of Zelda this is going to be? Like, is this going to have Majora's Mask and Ocarina of Time and Skyward Sword? Like, is it going to have all these, or is it its own its own instance?
Well, when it comes to Zelda, last year they did unveil the actual timeline of Zelda, of the entire franchise, and how every Zelda fits into this timeline theory. So where this one fits in, we don't know yet. That will probably be explained as you get into the game, because there are different versions of Hyrule. So depending on how the kingdom is laid out, will give hints as to which timeline we're actually in. And that will dictate what actually ends up happening. Skyward Sword is, as they said, Skyward Sword is the very first Zelda ever. That's the one that begins the origin of the Master Sword and how Hyrule comes to be. And then from there, there's a few other ones, and then the timeline splits into 3 different alternate timelines. So where this one fits in, we'll have to wait and see where it does. So there could be, now in terms of gameplay, I will point out there are elements that we've seen from other Zeldas that do play in. I know at one point Link pulls out a giant leaf to use as a parachute, which does coincide with what happens in Skyward Sword. So there will be other elements that they pull in from other Zeldas, but in terms of the narrative, that remains to be seen.
All right. Okay. Well, as we're going down this list, and we're going to continue on here. We have time, I think, to do one more, and then we'll take our bottom of the hour break. Dead Island 2 from Deep Silver.
So for all of you out there, there was a game a while back that tried to put kind of like an RPG element to zombie games, which was called Dead Island, and it was these survivors were trapped on an island that was being infected by zombies, and to help kind of prolong the experience, there were actually little missions you could go on. You had to upgrade household weapons so that they wouldn't break. Just kind of add these different elements to it. It kind of worked. It was decent. The game itself, it wasn't all that great in my opinion. And it looks like with Dead Island 2, they went back and decided, you know what, let's just go in a whole different direction. And it looks like they're going something even wackier than before, which might actually be a good thing for the game. Is if you go in one of these weird directions and you just own that level of wackiness, it actually can work out to the benefit of the game. If a great recent example would be Sunset Overdrive for the Xbox One, fantastic game, and it was silly and it was insane, but it worked. And Dead Island 2, take a look if you want. Google Dead Island 2, the cinematic trailer. It's the announcement trailer, and just watch it, and you'll see exactly what I'm talking about. That it's looking to be a more hysterical version of Dead Island, which I think gives it a lot of potential for it.
Going toward the wacky side of things is actually an improvement.
Yes, in some ways I think so. I know, I know right now zombies are are more of a serious element. I of course would attribute that to The Walking Dead being a big thing in the past years of making zombies an element of seriousness. But zombies can still be funny. There is still a sense of humor to zombies in of themselves, and having a sense of humor is not always a bad thing when it comes to fighting evil. or at least dealing with tragedy or darkness. Humor is a human way of dealing with that sort of thing. So to see that play as a mechanic of a game, I think I would take that as a refreshing element, in my opinion.
Well, it's definitely not new, or they're not trying to break the mold. I mean, the two that lead to mind, although I can't think of the name of one of them. One of them is like you're trapped in a mall and you go to each department store and you can pick up different weapons and things like that. Like
That's Dead Rising.
Yeah, that one, Dead Rising. I mean, that one is just wacky, fun, and it's enjoyable to play. And the other one is Lollipop Chainsaw, which is also about zombies, but it takes that humor side way up top. It's zombies, but it's still funny and fun to play. So I guess they're going more for that, because wasn't the original Dead Rising didn't it have a lot of glitches? Like, it was made, but it was kind of a try to be serious, and there were so many glitches. It
did, but yeah, it was it was trying to be more serious of you survive in a giant mini mall surrounded by zombies. But then by Dead Rising 2 and 3, it was much, much less about that, and it was just here's all the cool ways you can mow down zombies. Literally, you could get a lawnmower and mow down zombies.
Yeah.
Well,
zombies and humor work out very well. Gore and humor, you'd be surprised.
Yeah. Because my experience with zombies was the World War Z with Brad Pitt. That was a serious movie. There was nothing humorous about that. So, but I guess there's humor to be found in just about anything if you look hard enough. All right, we're at the bottom of the hour break, and we're going to continue on. Ben and I are talking to Grayson Hamilton, editor-at-large of Popzera magazine, and when we come back, we're going to look at Halo 5. Guardians. Well, this is one that Ben's going to want to talk about, because I know he's a huge Halo fan. This is the Computer America Show on the Blog Talk Radio Network, on the IRN Radio Network, and the Boost Radio Network. We will be right back. Stay with us. Looking for a best friend? Brother Wolf Animal Rescue has your best friend waiting just for you. The mission is to protect and enhance the lives of companion animals and the people who love them. Their no-kill rescue shelter is open year-round, making it easy for people to adopt their best new friend. This year, Brother Wolf will find homes for over 2,400 orphan dogs, puppies, cats, and kittens. All have ended up as an orphan through no fault of their own. Brother Wolf has created a safe, nurturing environment where these special animals can heal emotionally and physically until they find a lifelong home. Their life-saving transport program brings dogs and puppies from overcrowded shelters in the south to rescues in the north where homes are easier to find. Brother Wolf Animal Rescue is a 501c3 organization. To learn more about their life-saving work and to make a donation, visit their website at www.bwar.org. That's www.bwar.org. Help to realize Brother Wolf's vision when no animal is euthanized for lack of a home.
Who's a good boy?
Don't complain about your cable bill going up and up and up. Do something about it. Grab a pencil and jot down this special number.
1-866-663-MY-TV.
The more cable TV rates go up, the better digital satellite TV looks. So, disable the cable and get more of your favorite channels in 100% digital quality for less money.
Call 1-866-663-MY-TV.
Right now, to sign up for packages starting as low as $19.99 and up to 4 rooms. And there's no equipment to buy. That includes your free HD TV upgrade, your free DVR upgrade, and your free professional installation. And the best part, the pristine digital picture and sound.
Call 1-866-663-MY-TV.
So, what are you waiting for? Pull out your major credit or debit card.
Call 1-866-663-MY-TV. 1-866-663-MY-TV.
Disable the cable, cut costs, and get more.
Call 1-866-663-MY-TV. 1-866-663-MY-TV.
I've been expecting you. This is Marty Winston with a News Tips Bulletin Review for Computer America. This time, the Sengled Pulse LED speaker. Sometimes the early entries in a category get enough things wrong that you think the category itself is a non-starter. But then, when you least expect it, a new product gets it so right that you end up just grinning. That's what happened to us with the Pulse LED speaker by Sengled. It comes with a master unit and a satellite, each shaped enough like a BR-30 flood lamp that it fits most places those bulbs go. As a 2700 degree Kelvin warm white LED, each is good for 600 lumens in a directed 105 degree pattern. An amplified speaker inside delivers 13 watts of audio per channel, enough for most residential rooms. Bluetooth 2.1 EDR makes it compatible with many sources, and an app offers handset or tablet control of volume and brightness, as well as a variety of equalization presets. Bottom line, the Sengled Pulse LED speaker fits stereo sound behind bright floodlights that fit almost any VR30 fixture. This is Marty Winston with a News Tips Bulletin Review for Computer America.
Welcome back to the Computer America Show. It's 33 minutes past the hour. It is our all gamer show tonight, and we're talking about some of the upcoming games. And Grayson, I got to be honest with you. Ever since I heard about Halo 5, literally 3 minutes ago, I have been watching a Halo 5 demo that they have, and my word, it's amazing.
Wow!
It looks like something, doesn't it?
It is the best compliment you can give it. It looks like Halo.
Well, I should hope so. Yeah. It's 343 Studios, 343 Industries, which was founded by Microsoft to continue the Halo series since Bungie has moved on to developing Destiny. 343 was not just slapped together by a bunch of new developers. 343 was founded by people, existing developers who left Bungie because they wanted to continue working on Halo. Yeah. So, and that's kind of why Halo 4, while people were a little bit, anxious about it, turned out to be a solid, installment. And now Halo 5, which is definitely looking like, I would have to say, the Empire Strikes Back of their new trilogy, because it's really looking like it's supposed to be something truly phenomenal. And it's the first next-gen one, so it's going to be next-gen quality. They're boasting 60 frames a second on the Xbox One. In all honesty, I will wait to see that happen, because no game has run 60 frames on either machine.
Wow.
So I'd like to wait and see if that actually happens.
Yeah, I'm actually watching one of the demos. It's a multiplayer demo, and it looks good, but there are definitely some frame drops. So.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
But yeah, so it's one of those. They're continuing the lineage of Master Chief, even more to the point they're introducing. Well, I believe they're introducing a new character, a new major character to the Halo franchise. This Master Chief, what is his name? John 117, who is another Spartan, much like Master Chief is. So he's one of these super soldiers.
Oh wait, John 117. I thought that is Master Chief.
Is that? I believe that.
Yeah. I'm pretty sure. I know his call tag is 117, and I think his name is John. So.
Then he is the one who goes missing.
Yeah.
So it's actually you play another Spartan who actually is tasked with finding the Master Chief.
Mm.
So the first part of this, and I find this interesting, and this kind of brings me back to a game called Devil May Cry, where in one of those games you didn't play Dante. You don't play the main character. You actually go looking for the main character, which means that at some point, probably halfway into this game, that you will find Master Chief, and then it becomes more of a co-op experience.
Yeah.
And that would be I think that'd be a great step for the Halo narrative to go from a linear experience to a co-op game. I think that'd be a lot of fun to see.
Well, not to throw too many spoilers out there, but Cortana's gone, or so you are left to believe.
He's in Windows phones now.
Yeah, Cortana had to go get a real day job instead of just
doesn't work for Windows.
Around with John. So
he's working with Windows 10.
So John's alone, so I can totally see them sending out a search party for him.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's so this one, and this is of course Microsoft's flagship. So there's no doubt that they're going all out with this one, and rightfully so. People expect, they put games like Halo and Zelda, and Uncharted, I would put up there as well. They are subject to a much higher standard than other games. these are those major games that I'd say this is why you buy the PS4 or this is why you buy the Xbox One. Halo is a reason why you buy the Xbox One. And Halo has a very dedicated fan base. You know, they are very, very sincere, and they are very fierce about it, you know, protecting Halo and making sure that Halo is loved and cherished by everyone in the Xbox community, and they're definitely going to get that. I have no doubt Halo 5 will be a fantastic addition to the franchise, and it'll be great. That's one of the top 5 games that I think are most sought for the 2015. Definitely.
Yeah, I mean, you know, at this point, what Halo needs to do, I mean, I don't think 343 Studios is ever going to really, truly mess up the storyline. Like, they're going to do the story right. I think what they need to do at this point is to work on the MLG, to work on the pro scene. You know, because look at look at the most popular games out there. They're popular because they have, you know, some sort of pro element. They have some sort of, you know, pro gameplay to it. And Halo, I mean, in Halo 4 they tried it and it didn't quite click. I mean, you know, there is, I mean, if you ever followed Halo 2 when, you know, the MLG scene really popped up, I mean, they had people coming back. Like they had Ogre 2 came back. I mean, they were huge back in the day. They had many different, you know, actually good people come back to play Halo 4 professionally, but it kind of faded though. So Halo 5, I think, story-wise, is going to be amazing. If you're just in for the story, you're going to want this game, and you're going to want an Xbox One to play it on. But the pro scene still has to prove itself.
Yeah, absolutely. So it's, you know, this is going to be this is going to be a fantastic addition. And for you Xbox, you know, for the Xbox owners out there and the Halo fans out there, you know, rest assured this will be everything you want and more. And definitely one of the games you should be looking for this year.
Right. Well, how can you not? I mean, Halo 5. That's Halo is the one of the biggest franchises out there, and especially now if you have the next generation, if you have the Xbox One, people are probably just drooling, waiting for this game. And now that you have an Xbox One, great, you'll be able to report on it.
Absolutely. There you go.
Okay, well let's we're kind of bouncing all over here, but we're talking about the new big games of 2015, and we're going to swing back to Nintendo, and this is called Mario Maker.
Yeah, no, and the reason why I put this one up here is because I can't tell, there is no Nintendo fan out there who's never said this. Man, I wish I could make a level in Mario. I guarantee you, any person who's played a Mario game out there, man, wouldn't it be nice if you could do it yourself? You know, because you could create fun levels, you could create punishing levels, you could, you know, it's the idea behind it is just so cool, I think, from a gamer's perspective, because it's such an iconic, you know, franchise, and I would love to create those kinds of levels and play them or share them or play other people's. So and that's what Nintendo's giving us. Mario Maker.
This is like a Mario construction set, is what you're saying.
Yes. The game itself is, you are given all the tools that you get to build your own, all the Mario levels you want. Not only that, you can create them in any kind of graphics version you want. If you want, you can create it in the very original 1984 graphics from the Nintendo. You can create that kind of level in those kind of graphics. Or you can create it in the Nintendo Wii U graphics if you wanted to. You know, you have all of all of the tools are now given to us, and we can do whatever we want. You can create these levels. You can make them as short as you want, as long as you want, you know, as easy, as hard as you want. Then you throw them out there to the Wii U, you know, cloud server. You get to share them with your friends. You get to play other ones. You get to rate them all, so you see the best ones, people's favorites. You know, it's taking the idea of Little Big Planet, which was big for the customization and the level design aspect, but now we're doing it for Mario, and that's what I think that's what makes it mean so much more to people. Is, man, I grew up with Mario, so it's one of those, I get to create these levels. I'm gonna love this, and that's what gets me really pumped about Mario Maker. You know, Mario games themselves don't do it quite like they used to for me anymore. But the idea of being able to create it, Absolutely. I can't tell you. I already have. I've jotted down at least 30 different ideas. So I'm super pumped for this one.
Why do you think it's not like it used to be? Is it just because you grew older, or is it just that you're tired of it? I mean, why don't Mario games do it like they used to for you?
Oh, there's lots of different ideas. I mean, there's lots of different reasons that can happen for anyone. But you know, Nintendo has a different philosophy behind video game design. And it's not that it's, I mean, it certainly has changed over the years, but it's always been about helping. It's always been about getting as many people to play your games as you want, as can. It's always been inclusive. Gaming has always been about, we want you to play it. We don't want this to be just for hardcore. We don't want this just to be for casual. We just want people who love playing games. Mm-hmm. And Mario is always so open, so easy to get into, easy to play. It's fun. It's shareable, and it's great for Nintendo. That's why it's existed for so long, and is, I think, to be honest, Mario is eternal. Mario will never die. Mario will never stop being unimportant. But as for the tastes of a gamer, those always change as you grow older, as you play more games, and your tastes, just like your food palate, your tastes change. And sometimes you just want something a little bit more competitive, a little bit more violent, a little bit more hardcore.
That goes with anything, even movies. Tastes change. I mean, yeah,
absolutely. And Mario, there's all different kinds of Mario games. You've got everything from Mario Soccer, Tennis, Mario Party, the regular Mario's, Super Smash Brothers. There's all these different ways you can, different, I would say, flavors of Mario. And it's not to say that I don't like any of them. I love Smash. I will always love Smash. And I consider that a Mario game.
Yeah.
So it's it's to each how you just want to enjoy those kinds of games. So it's my taste in Mario has waned over the years just because I think I've gone more in the hardcore route. But to see something like this is more than enough to bring me back to my old school roots.
Absolutely.
Great. I like to think I know you after talking with you for a bit, and I believe right now you are really into story. You say hardcore, but I mean, if it has compelling gameplay and a good story, you're all on board. And Mario, while it has addictive gameplay, very fun, very quick, they have great boards or some puzzle games and whatnot. The storyline is that Peach always gets stolen, and you have to go get it. Like it's there's not a lot to offer in terms of story.
Yeah, I mean, there's only so many times a princess can get caught before you start to ask the question, why isn't she bumping up security? Why isn't she teaching herself a little bit of martial arts? This is 2015. I feel like she has more than enough abilities to really become her own woman and start taking responsibility for her security.
It's like, Peach, turn into Lara Croft already.
Yeah, hire some mercenaries. All right.
I'm not saying, I'm not asking for much, I think. It's just if she had an iPhone, she'd just find my iPhone. GPS, you find her, there she is. You don't have to go through 8 castles. You just go to the castle where you find her phone at. There you go.
Hey, we got some other really huge titles. I don't have time, but I'm going to try to get through to them. Mighty Number 9. Now,
man. So for you guys out there, these next 2 titles are indie games. But the reason why I put them on there is because these are shaping up to be really just important but very, very entertaining, really awesome games. Mighty Number 9, made by Keiji Inafune, and he used to work for Capcom, and he is the actual creator of Mega Man. And he had been designing Mega Man games for most of his career until him quitting Capcom a couple years ago. The problem with that is Capcom owns all of the rights to Mega Man. So the problem is Keiji can't make Mega Man games anymore.
Mm-hmm.
He can't. But that doesn't mean he can't go out and create his own game. So he went out and did a Kickstarter with an idea of saying, here's my idea for a new kind of Mega Man type game. This is a spiritual successor is what this is called. It is a side scroller. The hero is a robot who can be improved by fighting other. It's a carbon copy Mega Man game, but it's just not Mega Man. It's Mighty Number 9. Now there are new gameplay aspects to it to keep the formula fresh, which is great. And the community resonated amazingly. He got 4 times the Kickstarter goal for this game, and which allowed him, because it was mainly going to be a PC game, now it's coming to all major platforms. So he's already had deals with Microsoft and Sony to get it on the PlayStation Network and the Xbox Live. So this is coming out hopefully by April. I think he might actually push it back to May. I'm hoping not. But this is going to be a fantastic side-scrolling, fantastic indie game. So for anyone out there, even if you never played Mega Man, go out and look up the gameplay, the demos for it on video. I guarantee you, probably by the end of February, there should be a demo that will go live that you'll be able to actually play yourself. And some of the Kickstarter fans got that demo as a supporter goal, and the details, or the reviews that came back, were phenomenal. It's highly addictive. It's a lot of fun. So this one, we've been waiting for this one for years, and we're super excited for it. So definitely keep this one on your radar.
All right. Well, again, we're not going to catch all of them, so I'm going to try to hit some of the biggest titles that we have here that are coming out. And of course, that's Star Wars. They're coming up with a new Star Wars title called Battlefront from DICE.
Well, this one, of course, is it should be called Star Wars Battlefront 3, because this will be the 3rd one of the franchise. The last Battlefront came out on the PlayStation 2, many years ago, and a lot of people really enjoyed the Star Wars Battlefront experience, because what it is it's hundreds of Ally soldiers against hundreds of stormtroopers, and you get to play in a giant battle. Now, that was back in the PS2 days. Remember back then when there wasn't really multiplayer over the internet, when it was just like you and maybe 3 other people in a quad screen? You know what I'm talking about, Ben.
Yeah.
Now, look at it this way. So that kind of game was entertaining back then. Fast forward to now. We're talking the same kind of idea. Imagine a giant battlefield, 500 soldiers on this, 250 stormtroopers, 250 allied soldiers, and every single one is played by a different player. That's what we're talking about. We're talking about these miles-long these battlegrounds, complete with Jedis, giant star destroyers. You know, you can pilot ships, you can pilot ground speeders. This is this is the generation that this kind of game was made for. And what makes it even better is that DICE are the people designing it. DICE is known for the multiplayer aspect of Battlefield 3 and 4, which are highly polished, extremely well done games. On top of that, I don't know if anyone remembers this, many years ago, PS3, they came up with a game called MAG, Massive Action Game. And what it was it had no single player. All of the games were 128 versus 128. And it was legit. 128 real players played 128 other real players on these giant battlefields. And they actually were able to show that it was that it could be done capably. Now, that was like 7 years ago. Think of the improvement on infrastructure, on internet stability, on lag reduction. All of these things are basically coinciding together to form the perfect formula and the reason why Star Wars Battlefront needs to come back right now. And thank God it is, because the possibilities behind this, and let's be honest, we're all on a Star Wars high right now with Episode 7. Like, this is the year of Star Wars, essentially, since it's been gone for so long. So for this game to come out now, it's going to be a huge hit. And DICE are the people that should be developing it, and thank God they are. It's the right people with the right game. This is going to be a phenomenal game. Like, I already want to put my stamp of approval on it, which is, of course, being completely biased.
See, I want to say DICE, go for it. Star Wars, go for it. Battlefront, amazing. But the only thing is, every one of those people is a person, and I've learned something about online gaming and gaming in general since like the last couple years, especially. People are stupid. I'm sorry, but they are. And when you put 250 of these people against 250 against other of these people, it's going to be. It is possible that this is going to be ridiculous.
It will be the law of evolution will be applied. All the ones that aren't going to survive are going to die out early, and then all be left to the people who deserve to be there. You know.
Maybe. I'm just saying, 500 people, that's a lot of stupidity to put in one game.
Well, then all going to be.
Well, and it isn't to say there's going to be 500. These are going to be online 500 people matches. Yeah. I just know that the potential, the infrastructure exists for these kinds of matches to be had, but DICE might have already tried doing that and said it just doesn't work. Or just like you said, it destabilizes too quickly. Maybe the cap should be 64 v 64 or 128 v 128.
I think the highest it ever went to was, or at least I ever experienced, was in Halo. I think the highest I ever got to was 12 versus 12, or maybe even 16 versus 16 in Big Team Battle. And Call of Duty might have something really similar to that as well. But if ever there was a game, if ever there was a time, it is, you gotta start sometime, and this is probably it, where you can finally have this many people without the server being a problem, and then it's just the people you play with being the problem. So, I mean, I'm hoping it's closer to 64 on each team, 128, maybe 256, but still, I mean, that's such a huge herd-like human group that it might not be fun. I mean, I've heard complaints about when you put too many people in an area, you become a face in the crowd. You can't stand out, and sometimes that's what people like about video games is you're able to stand out. Your head and shoulders above the rest, and when you're just one of 250 people, you don't stand out. So I mean, gameplay-wise, I want to put my hands on it before I put my stamp of approval on it.
And that's definitely a mature, responsible thing to do as a gamer.
But on the other token, it's Star Wars. Oh my God, yes.
And that's where I come in.
We have time for one more, and I think you really love Uncharted 4, I think you said, so I wanted to at least get that in the next couple of minutes from Naughty Dog.
Oh yeah, Uncharted, and they're playing this one up big for PlayStation, and as they rightfully should. Naughty Dog has been they've in the past 7 years they have just proven themselves over and over again. Uncharted 1, 2, 3, Last of Us, which was Game of the Year 2013, if everyone remembers. Yep. Naughty Dog has shown that they are a phenomenal video game studio, not for making great games, but for making these cinematic masterpieces. Mm-hmm. They really bring in the storytelling element to a game to a whole nother level. And that's where they really distinguish themselves from other studios. It isn't just about making a great game. It's about making a great game that means something on a emotional level. Uncharted is it's of course, yeah, there's explosions and you got a wisecracking, treasure hunter, and it's more fun and everything. Last of Us proved that Naughty Dog can really rein in and really bring up the intensity, but really play out the emotion. And that's what The Last of Us really showed, was they said, even if you took away the humor, we can still make an amazing game. And they did. Last of Us was truly phenomenal, and at no point in that game do you ever laugh. As a matter of fact, you cry a lot because it's a very, very emotionally gripping game. So it was nice to see, it was great to see that now they, as they're talking about in interviews, they're bringing everything they've learned is going into Uncharted 4. This is their coup de grace for Uncharted, and it's called A Thief's End. This is supposedly the last chapter of Nathan Drake, and if that being the case, I'm more excited for it because we have to see, I want to see the final evolution of Nathan Drake. He's gone from a wisecracking, nothing will kill me guy to a husband who really understands the level that it takes, what real sacrifice is. And this is going to be testing him to his ultimate limit. And that's great thematically, but I want to see them really push it emotionally. And that's where I think we're really going to be surprised by is to see everything they learned from Last of Us be funneled into Uncharted 4. And I think I've got a lot riding on Uncharted. I think it's going to turn out great. I really hope it does. And it might just be a Game of the Year contender. A year from now, we might be talking about this yet again, saying, man, how awesome was Uncharted? So that's without a doubt another one of the top 5 that any gamer out there should be excited for.
Well, as I said, we didn't get through the list, but just No Man's Sky from Hello Games, The Order 1886 from Ready at Dawn, and of course, Rise of the Tomb Raider from Ubisoft. Some of the games that we didn't get, but Grayson says they're going to all be part of the big games of 2015. Maybe when you come back next month, we can take another look at those. But we're just pretty much flat out of time. Again, so things are working out really well for you out at Pop Zara, and what is the name of your store? What we should look for?
Again, oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah, when you go by Pop Zara, it should be up on the main scroller. Just look for the CES 2015 Roundup. There's a bunch of CES articles from me and my other editors have written. Mine should be called the Roundup. Take a click. Hope you enjoy the reading.
And yeah, it was interesting because while you were out at CES, we got to meet some of your other colleagues. I'm blocking his name. What is it? I
would say Joshua.
I got to kick it with Charles Tyndall.
Oh, yeah, and Josh Boylan, yeah, exactly. And Charles Tyndall, of course, yes, was out there. You got to mix it up with him. He's a really cool fella. and
rides motorcycles, I hear.
Yeah, he does. And of course, now and Sandy Berger made a quick appearance.
She did, yeah.
He does not ride motorcycles.
Yeah, and even David Perry made a quick pop-in appearance out there. But yeah, it was a lot of fun. And again, check out the article by Grayson Hamilton at popzara.com and check it out. Gray, listen, always a pleasure having you here on the show. Stay with us to the end for a little after the show roundup that we do. And we will see you next month on our next Gamer Tuesday. Okay? Coming up tomorrow night, speaking of Sandy Berger, Sandy Berger is going to be with us. She's our consumer electronics correspondent and expert, and she always has fun things to say, and she'll be talking about some of the things that she saw out at the Consumer Electronics Show. We got a rack of things that she's going to be talking about, so don't forget to tune in. Same bat time, same bat channel, to quote
Batman?
Yes, exactly. All right, so that about wraps it up, and Ben and I will see you tomorrow night. So until tomorrow night, this is Craig Crossman hoping that your hard disk never becomes floppy. Have a great evening. We'll see you tomorrow night.
Good night, everyone.
10 seconds. Thank you for using Blog Talk Radio. Goodbye.
Okay, and thanks everybody for watching the show on our live Computer America video streaming page. And I understand Lucas is now in the chat room, and he also subscribed to the newsletter. So I think we've just acquired another Computer America fan. Thank you all. Yeah?
Just turn into Stalker America.
Stalker America.
We'll be letting you know what he had for breakfast tomorrow. So tune in for
that. Hey, great. Thanks for being with us here, and we'll see you next month.
Definitely. It's always fun, and because we didn't get to say it early on, Happy New Year to you guys. Happy 2015.
Yes, Happy New Year to you. All right. All right, take care, and we'll see you next time.
All right, you guys take it easy.
Bye-bye.